Hey, Sean, welcome to an evening post. Thank you for clicking on this. It means a lot to me. Tonight, I wanted to talk about my favorite graph. Now, it's... no. Nope. Nope. Yeah. So that graph is from the book Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And he says that he stole it, obviously, from Maureen McHugh. And that's where I'm going to put my credit. And I'm sure this may exist in other places as well. But essentially, the point is that anytime you start something throughout the life of a project, whether it's a daily YouTube series, whether it's a big project you're doing at work or something that takes months or years, whether it's a short film or an album, whatever, when you start, you're so excited for what it could be, and then as you start to get into it, his things here are, this is the best idea ever, okay, this is harder than I thought, this is gonna take some work, this sucks and it's boring, and then what he calls the dark night of the soul there at the very bottom. But then it starts to tick up toward the end. It will be good to finish just because I'll learn something for next time. And lastly, it's done and it sucks, but not as bad as I thought. And you'll notice that it doesn't end as high as it began. But knowing that that's the process for most creative projects, knowing that there is this flow that happens with most projects, being aware of that before you go into something, I have found liberating. And like taking this daily YouTube series as an example, when I started it, I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have, my own Tonight Show sort of, and it's gonna start to gather momentum and more people are gonna see it as it goes on, and I'll play music and I'll have friends play music and I'll have guests and I'll just turn it into this, hyper whatever. It was a great idea. And then as I started to do it, realizing that I had essentially an hour and a half a day to fully make it, to write it, film it, edit it, make a thumbnail, and upload it. That's not a lot of time. And I was picturing these like fun intro sequences that were pieced together from like videos I had taken on my phone throughout the days, just little, showing us at the zoo. And I did that in one of the first episodes. And then it's just so hard to produce something like I'm imagining with the amount of time that I have. And so I started to get really upset with how much I bit off because it seemed like it was more than I could chew. And I noticed this morning, just now, as I was thinking of what to do for this video, and I'm like, man, this series, it just sucks. It's not what I wanted it to be, and it's awful, and I should just stop. Like, why finish the 30 days? But I looked up at my shelf of books, and I saw Steal Like an Artist, and I immediately thought of this, and I love this graph. This graph, I have... I've drawn this on the front of my notes that I take for any of my Boom projects. I write notes afterwards in this journal. And it's a good reminder, like, hey, things are gonna seem awful, but stick with it because it's gonna come up and it may never and probably won't ever live up to your expectations at the outset. But at the end of it, you'll be able to look back and say, look, I did something, I learned something from it, and it was better than nothing. And it might even be pretty good. And I thought, even with a few of these episodes, like when I recorded the Brown Eyed Blues musical number last week, I watched them like, why am I dancing in front of the camera as I'm singing? That doesn't feel like me, but it was sort of fun, and then I'm rolling my eyes as I'm editing it. But ultimately, when I posted it, I felt okay about it, and I felt like it was a fun take on the song. And so there's so many little things. Not only is this series following this graph, but each episode, to an extent, follows the same graph of expectations as well. So if you haven't read this book, check it out. I highly recommend it. If you know me, borrow mine because I like lending this to people and then I have them sign it after they've read it. And the dedication is, it says, for Boom, whenever Boom gets here. That's probably his son or something like that, but that's the name of my company, so it means more to me too. Check out the book, borrow mine. Good luck in whatever you're doing. Stick with it because it's going to get better and it's going to be fun when you're done. That's all I got. Thanks for joining me for another day. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.